All right, welcome to Why It's Sold in Cleveland Heights. And so today we're taking a look at a house on Scarborough Road in Cleveland Heights. And this one is located at 2873 Scarborough. So this one just closed this week. And just some quick stats on it, then we'll get into my opinion, why this one sold so quick. Quick stats. So it was listed at 375, sold for 392.5, and it was under contract in 2 days. So why is this one selling so quickly compared to others in the Heights? And what's it take to get your home sold quickly in the Heights? Let's take a look. So first, let's start off with the size of the house. So this is a 5 bedroom, 2.5 bath house, just under 2,000 square feet, coming in at 1976. And this square footage doesn't include a finished third floor. And so 1976. And so when you look at the size of the house, it's a really manageable size that I think is going to appeal to a lot of different buyers. So you've got 5 bedrooms, which is plenty of space if you've got kids or you're planning to have a family, but you've also got the option to host friends or family comfortably. So I think the size of the house is going to attract a really strong buyer pool. And then on top of that, it's not too much to manage. There's a very manageable yard, front and back to take care of. The house itself doesn't feel massive. So it's a really good size and kind of in a nice sweet spot for somebody looking. And then next, and this to me is one of the biggest reasons why it sold quickly, but is the location. So obviously it's located right here on Scarborough Road, aka Scarborough. They're big contributors during Halloween. But specifically on Scarborough, it's located closer to Coventry. So it's between Lamberton and Coventry Road. And anywhere on Scarborough, the chances of your home selling quickly are pretty high. It's a great neighborhood. But especially as you get towards this end of Scarborough, so closer to Coventry, streets like Stillman and Coventry, North St. James, Chatfield, and as you kind of dip into the Cedar Fairmount area, you're going to see a lot bigger home and higher price point start to creep in. And this is kind of right on the cusp of that neighborhood. So towards this end of Scarborough, you're going to start to see prices come up a little bit. So I think that's a big factor in why it sold so quickly and for the price that it did. But on top of that, like I said, it's a great neighborhood. And so you're walking distance to Lee Road, which has coffee, restaurants, shops. You can easily get to Shaker Lakes. You can walk to Cedar Fairmount. You're close to playgrounds, schools, all of that. And so really great kind of central area to be right in the heart of Cleveland Heights. And so I think that's one of the top reasons why this one is selling so quickly is because of the location. And then let's dive into the actual features of the house. So what the house looks like. Overall, this isn't a house that you're going to walk through and the updates and the features are going to completely blow you away because they're brand new or they've done all sorts of upgrades and updates and all those type of things to it. But what I will say is a very well maintained home that shows very well. And it's been lived in and it appears to be taken care of, which is great. And on these older homes in the Heights, that's to me, that's most important. So as you take a look, it's a beautiful center hall colonial. As you walk in, they've got nice hardwood floors that are in great shape. There's really nice space and kind of flow on the first floor. So you've got an open living room area, plenty of room for seating, entertainment, TV above the fireplace, which is great. And then the dining room area, plenty of room for a large dining room table if you want to host gatherings, dinners, Thanksgiving, all those type of things. It's a really great space to live and entertain. And then as we go into the kitchen, so the kitchen isn't newly updated, but it's got some newer countertops, cabinets, stainless steel appliances, and so it's not dated by any means, but it appears to be quality and again a nice space. And then one of the biggest features I think, is huge on the first floor is a half bath. So this way you don't have people going upstairs if you've got company or kids, they don't have to trek upstairs to use the bathroom. So first floor half bath, which is great. And then off the back of the house, they've got a deck that kind of leads down into a patio, and then your classic kind of deep Cleveland Heights backyard. And everything's fenced in, so you're separating your driveway and your backyard here, as you can see, which is super nice. So all in all, I think it offers some really nice things inside and out. And then as you get upstairs, you've got a spacious landing here. So the rooms aren't right on top of each other. You get up there and you've got some room to operate, which is nice. Great sized bedrooms on the second floor. A huge plus is they updated the full bath upstairs, which is nice. And so that part is updated. This looks like it's the only bathroom that is updated, but great to have that. They converted one of these bedrooms into a walk-in closet. And then, overall, I think the current owners, you know, the house showed very well. And they did a really nice job of highlighting the space. And so they kind of neutralized a bunch of areas, but they kept furniture and all those things in there to kind of help buyers envision how they would use the space themselves. But all in all, really tastefully decorated and set up by the current owners. And then as we get upstairs, this is huge too. So they've got a finished third floor um, with a full bath. And so if you've got, a high school age kid or a college kid and they want their own space, they can go up here. Or if you've got family that's in town, your in-laws are visiting, your parents are visiting, they've got their whole wing, their area that they can comfortably be. So again, this is a huge, huge selling point and I think helped the home sell quickly. And then basement unfinished, but a nice open area that you could use for, a home gym. You could lay mats down, or you could possibly finish one day. And then the backyard, like I said, nice, classic, deep Cleveland Heights backyard, completely fenced in. And it's nice that you're separating your driveway from your yard space. And then lastly, let's look at price. So I think, price is the second biggest reason behind location why this one sold so quickly. So they had it listed at 375, ended up closing at 392.5. So selling well above asking price. And when you look at the average in the neighborhood, so within a quarter mile over the last 6 months is what I like to focus on. They're right on par with what's going on in the market. So average list price during that time for houses within a quarter mile was $373,000, and they're at 375. So they're right on the money there. And then average sale price within a quarter mile over the last 6 months was 354. So again, they're not at the tip, they're not an outlier, right? They're not listed well above the average. And they're kind of right in that sweet spot. And for those average sales, those range from $190,000 on the low end all the way up to 450. So again, they're not maxing out the market. They're right in that sweet spot and kind of teetering towards the higher end. But I think the space and how well maintained the house is justifies them being at 375 and then certainly selling for 392. Now, when we look at the value of the home over the years, so these current owners actually purchased the house in 2023 for $320,000 and they sold it less than 3 years later for 392.5. So that kind of shows you the appreciation over in that neighborhood. If you go back to 2018 when it sold for 197, and then in 2023 it sold for 320 and then 392. So the value in that neighborhood is holding steady, which is great to see. And then lastly, what are some things that maybe could have been done or that would push this sale over, say, $400,000? I think really the only thing would be if the home had AC. So there's no air conditioning in this one. And they do have a boiler and radiator heat. So sometimes, which are totally fine and great heating sources. But sometimes buyers would prefer a traditional furnace or they would certainly prefer air conditioning. And so that could be something that pushed this one ahead. And then lastly, any major updates to the systems. So if they had like a new roof or newer windows or newer electric throughout the house, something like that could be a reason why this one gets pushed over 400. But overall, great house, really nice neighborhood, and solid purchase at 392.